You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the number one horse podcast in the world. Here's your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
I am Coach Jen in Ocala, Florida.
And I'm Mary Kitzmiller from Kemp, Texas, and you are listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for February 5th, episode 3877. Good morning, Horse World.
What is your favorite day of the week?
You never stop learning. You never stop understanding. It's more in depth than just riding a horse. Exciting, knowing that for the rest of my life I could work on this and I'll never stop learning.
Welcome back, Mary. Regulars know that Mary is here the second Thursday of every month, and we sit down and chit-chat about all things horse training. What you been up to, girlfriend?
Oh, not much, surviving our mini snowpocalypse. So,
Did you get snow or cold or both?
We got this frozen sleet stuff, so it looked like it was snow outside, but it was rock solid like ice.
The look of snow without the fun.
I know, yeah, and it really wasn't that bad. All my waters were good for the horses, and nothing broke, and everything was hunky dory.
So, with your setup at your place, do most of your horses come in the barn, out of the barn? Are they mostly out? Because that makes a big difference on how much hassle unusually inclement weather creates.
Yeah, so most of my horses are out to pasture, and they have lean-tos in their pastures, but whenever it's going to storm or, get caught a nasty, I open up excuse me, did not mean to do that. I open up my indoor arena for them to come in and get shelter. So it's pretty easy, and they have round bales on the pasture, and then I put out, there's a company called Zestera, I think, and I put out mineral tubs by them, and it's supposed to help prevent colic and things like that. So it's easier than most setups.
Yeah, keep it simple. Do your horses, do you still have mules, and do you still have any long ears?
I do. I have a tiny herd of donkeys and a couple of mules.
Are your critters, for the most part, good about coming in and making use of the shelter when it's available, or are they like mine are? No, I'd just rather stand in the rain and shiver.
Oh no, yeah, they're really smart. They know when it's like, yeah, we better go hang out in the shelter. If it's, just raining a little bit, they'll hang out there. They'll hang out in the pasture, but no, they're pretty savvy about knowing when to come in.
Yay.
Yeah. It was really funny because usually if a storm's coming up, they'll all start making their way to the arena. And was it year before last when we had the eclipse? So we were in the path of totality. So when it got fully dark, all of my herd came up and they're like, oh, better go to the shelter.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Something's going on.
Yeah. They're like, yep. Could be the apocalypse. We don't know.
And during the horrid weather, when it's really no fun to go out of doors, how did your Malinois puppy make out?
She would love to have just stayed out there the whole time. He was still trying to get in my pond and run through water and everything. Nothing stops her. She's a freight train.
Yeah. Did she get irritable and things, being cooped up a little more than normal, or did she handle it okay?
Not irritable, but just a little bit more wacky. Yes, she does not know how to sit still. So, yeah, she was, but she wasn't terrible.
So you've had her for how long, your puppy?
I got her in August. September, October, November, December. So like 5 months now.
5 months. So when you got her, she was still a pretty young puppy. So young
Yes.
puppies tend to have to take a lot of naps and they wear out a little bit quicker. Have you noticed that her extended energy time, in other words, no naps required, increasing a lot?
Yeah, she didn't really need to take a lot of naps as a puppy either.
Oh no.
She's pretty active even as a puppy. She is learning. So one thing I'm a stickler about is crate training. And then I also have a little station next to my kitchen where I have a dog bed and I have a little tie, and she learns to stay on the tie and settle. And that's really important because, when I take her to horse shows and stuff, there's going to be times where I can't pay attention to her and she's just got to chill out. And so I do that. I'm a pretty big stickler for training them to do those kinds of things really young. So even when she's a little alert and active and I need to put her in a crate for some reason, like for instance, the other day I was getting a new dryer. And so, a guy was coming in and out. And so just like, you need to go and stay put somewhere for a bit. And she's very good at going, okay, I guess I'll behave.
She gives you the Eeyore face. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Poor me. I have to sit still for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear that you guys survived the 2026 snow and ice apocalypse just fine. So about this time of the show, every month, regulars know that we dive into Mary's training tip. And what is your tip this month and what inspired it?
So what inspired it was kind of going through training questions, and a lot of the horses in today's questions could benefit from learning during rest. So horses, they really learn best during periods of rest. And I didn't mean to make that a poem, but it is. And yeah. And what I mean by that is they don't actually learn so much by resting, but their learning is finished during rest. And here's what I mean by that. When we work with a horse, learning happens in 2 phases. And the first phase is the input phase. And this is when we're doing all the active stuff. This is when we're asking and shaping and correcting and giving information to the horse. But we often forget about the second phase, which is called consolidation. And that's when the nervous system sorts through all that information that we've given them and it decides what to keep. So, like I said, most of us focus almost entirely on that first phase. Like, I got to get my horse in the trailer. I got to teach him the lead change. We got to open the gate. We got to cross the obstacle. But we forget about the second phase, which is that consolidation. And that's when they actually complete their learning. So when a horse is moving and responding or under pressure, their nervous system is very busy reacting. But when we pause and nothing more is being asked, this is when the brain has a chance to finally has the space to organize what just happened. And so we will often see these signs occur after the work. So that's the lick and chew, the sigh, lowering the head, or a horse that feels better the next day than they did at the end of your last session because they've had a chance to go and sort all of this stuff out in their brain. The improvement didn't happen during the drill. It happened afterwards. And there is scientific data and research to back this up. So across neuroscience in mammals, including horses, learning depends on something called memory consolidation. And there's been research to show that motor skills and physical skills are strengthened during periods of rest or low stimulation. So the brain is actually replaying and reinforcing what was practiced once the pressure stops or once the lesson stops. And the studies on this show that during that it's distributed practice, meaning shorter sections. So shorter sessions with breaks can lead to better retention. And it's much better than long continuous drills. So when I'm working my horse, I don't, and I actually learned this from reining trainers. It just kind of comes naturally when we train. Instead of just, I'm riding for an hour and just riding for that whole hour, doing walk, trot, canter, and drilling all of this stuff, I work on a little something here. So maybe I'm going to work on the horse's shoulders for a few minutes, find an improvement, and then we're going to sit and we're going to think about it. And then we'll either repeat that lesson again and repeat it in several increments, or after a rest, we'll say, okay, now let's work on lead departures. And I pick a new thing to work on. I think the reason the reiners have developed this program is because a lot of what we're doing is physically strenuous for the horse. So the horse often must stand still for a few minutes and catch their air. But it's also a very good practice for them mentally, because we're throwing a lot at that horse. And when the horse is highly stressed out, if you kind of go over that learning threshold, their nervous system is really going to prioritize survival. And the parts of the brain responsible for learning and memory aren't going to work as efficiently. So we don't want to push a horse past their ability to stay regulated. You might get the horse to do the thing you're asking, but you're not getting the understanding. So rest is not the same as shutdown. You want rest to be, you want the horse to be soft during rest. You want them breathing and blinking and shifting their weight. Shut down is a horse freezing, you have dullness, or obedience without curiosity. So
I think I'm gonna put a highlight on that one. I'm gonna get my little marker out and highlight that, because I've seen so many times during a training session, because just like everybody else, I have a lot of horsey videos on YouTube. The horse is, I'm going to use my air quotes, at rest. We're taking that break. But the horse is completely uninterested and not reacting in any way, shape, or form to his environment. That he doesn't look when the dog runs by. He doesn't lift his head up and snorkel. It's just complete and absolute stillness. So their brain is probably not going to be doing that consolidation at that point, are they?
Correct. And so if you have a horse that you've pushed physically past their limit and right now they're just trying to catch their breath, or a horse that maybe we've drilled on too hard, or maybe we've presented something with too much pressure, you want to make sure that that horse's rest isn't looking like shutdown. So healthy rest looks like softness. It's breathing, it's blinking, it's weight shifting. And shut down, like I said, is that kind of, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. So
I'm gonna interrupt your chain of thought again, because that's what I do to you. Thank you for putting up with me. So if we go to the opposite end of the spectrum, you are working on your left lead work and you're grilling along. Oh, we're getting it. Let's take a break. Mm-hmm. And you have a horse that takes his break and is quite the reverse. The horse that you ask to halt and take a break is fidgety, where they don't want to buy into taking a break. They're fidgety, they're fussy, they're groupy. What have we done during that training session, either that particular training session or over a series of them, that is likely to have caused that, where the horse says, oh my gosh, I can't take a break?
So it really depends. It might not be that you've done anything wrong during that training part. It could be, often I see this a lot in English horses. The horse doesn't know how to rest. So a horse that I have started from day one, they know how to rest, because I work that into every single lesson. And so my horses learn when I give them that opportunity. They're like, thank you. Yes, I'm going to sit here and rest. A horse that I get in for training, oftentimes might not know how to do this. And so how I tackle that. So yeah, it could absolutely be that we overwhelmed our horse during training. We need to reevaluate that. Or it could be a horse that's like, you're letting me do nothing. I don't know what to do with myself if you're letting me do nothing. This is like my little Malinois. I had to train her like, I actually had to teach her this is what rest means. I know you don't want it or need it, but you're going to learn it.
It's a skill.
Yes. So with a horse that is fidgety, there's several ways I'll tackle it. If I think that I didn't overwhelm him during the lesson, then what I may do is I always give him the opportunity. I'm going to put my hand down, loose rein, give him the opportunity. If they're a little fidgety, I'll kind of just gently place them back where I want them. Like, no, I'm giving you the opportunity to rest. And I might have to tell them that several times. Like, no, you can rest. No, you can rest. And if they're like, I really don't need it, I'm like, okay, let's go work on those lead changes again. And I'll do maybe 3 more, or lead departures again. And I'll do maybe 3 more and then say, okay, now do you want to rest? And so I just keep reiterating like, no, you can rest now. No, you can rest now. Now, for some horses in the very beginning, rest for them may be 5 seconds because they just can't handle any more than that. So I'll say, okay, pause. Okay, now let's go on to something else. And over time, they're going to start taking that gift that I give them of you're allowed to stand still. They're not in trouble if they don't want to. Any kind of quote unquote correction I do is gentle. Like, no, you can keep your feet still. So for some horses, I might just have to find a starting point of, hey, just sit here for 5 seconds. That's all I want. And then eventually that horse is going to feel safe enough to go, you know what? I think I'm going to take this opportunity to hang out. And I talk about this all the time on the podcast. We need our horses to be comfortable standing still when we need them to stand still. So this is doing 2 things at once. It's giving an opportunity for them to actually complete their learning, but we're also training, hey, there's times where I need you to stand for a farrier, or I need you to stand in the lineup, in the show pen, or I need you to stand for the vet. Let's work on that now.
Yeah, standing still is one of those skills, like for your dog, recall, come when you call them, and sit, basic life skills.
Yes.
Being able to be quiet under saddle at any given moment is definitely a life skill. And unfortunately, and I'm as guilty as anybody, we don't spend enough time teaching it initially and then rehearsing it, because you can't teach it as a 3-year-old when they get started and then ignore it for the rest of their life. It's one of those things that it's a skill that has to be constantly rehearsed to make sure it still works, because some horses, their inclination is to move the feet. That's just the way they're hardwired, typical thoroughbred or perhaps Arabian, versus a cow-bred quarter horse. His inclination might be to park his feet because that's a skill that is very valued genetically. So they're a little bit better at it. So it's interesting. And it's so funny how your training tips, 99.9% of the time I go, oh, wow, that applies to my life right now. When I rode James, the 4-year-old horse yesterday, the 4-year-old horse who's afraid of his own shadow, we've been working a lot in the past 2 months on regulating, because once he becomes overwhelmed, he's going to rear and pitch and kick at you and rear at you and strike and do all those things. So we're working on him regulating his emotions that way. And I was a little frustrated because I wanted to go out, and I said, we need to go out and get some physical work done and get a little bit out of breath. He's fat. He's like a big butterball. And of course, it was windy and there were a million things going on in the neighborhood. And we literally spent more time during our hour and 10-minute ride standing still and staring at scary things than we did moving. And I'm still frustrated by it, but it was necessary, because he's that horse that if you push past too many scary things, you get to the 5th scary thing that you pushed past, and all of a sudden he's upside down and you're on the ground. Mm-hmm. He's that horse. Mm-hmm. So it's so hard for us as riders and I feel like I'm relinquishing control. I have to let him designate a little bit of the plan on any given the day. So we've gotten to the point now that he's getting a little better at it, and we were able to go and do some more intensive work and get those calories burned as I planned to. But instead of the 45-minute ride that I thought I would have, I had the hour and 15-minute ride in order to get that done. And I have to train myself that that's okay. It's better for the horse. So as we go along, instead of spending the entire ride spooking every 6 steps, now we spend the ride stopping and staring at a lot of things for 3 minutes at a time, but there's no spook and spin. So progress.
Yeah, and I tell you what, you give me any breed of horse, I don't care if it's the craziest thing in the world, I can make that a pokey, lazy horse. It's kind of my gift and curse at the same time. It's my downfall. I tend to get my horses a little too dopey, but and like the cow horses in the quarter horse world, they're actually pretty feisty because they're kind of like a border collie because they have to move with that cow lickety split. And so they can actually also be difficult. When I do these Stock Horse of Texas shows, we're doing cow horse classes, and then you have to turn around and do a trail course. So in one class, you want that horse to follow everything that moves. And then in the next class, you have to be like, okay, now be quiet and ignore all these scary things. And man, it's a challenge. Yes. And so when you're dealing like with your guy and he's fresh and full of beans, I will still go ahead and utilize movement and allow them to move. So sometimes I get my horse out and he's really fresh, and I know that he physically cannot stand still for very long. And so if I feel like it's going into the border, if it's bordering into kind of we're fighting over it, I'll say, okay, let's use this energy to move your feet. So for instance, if I'm riding my horse out in the pasture and he sees a scary thing and he really doesn't, he's not in the mood to investigate it and stand still and ponder it and all of that. Like, it's just not going to happen. I will do a little exercise and work the scary thing like it's a cow. So the scary thing might not move. Let's say it's a mailbox. What I will do is I will either trot in a circle or a straight line near the mailbox. And every time I pass the mailbox, I'm going to turn my horse into the mailbox and trot the other way. And then turn my horse into the mailbox and trot the other way. So it's kind of like I'm doing a cow work drill. And not only is my horse able to expend the extra energy they have in their feet, but they're constantly turning and looking at the scary thing. And I'm almost kind of saying, hey, you don't have too much time to ponder the scary thing, because in a minute I'm going to ask you to stop and turn, and then I'm going to ask you to stop and turn, and I'm going to ask you to be soft. And so, and I do this in a very, like, I'm doing it with gusto and with purpose, but in a soft way. I'm not really fast with my hands. I'm not punishing them for being bad. I'm just like, hey, you've got this extra energy. Okay, let's do this little drill. Or like I said, I'll circle in front of the mailbox, and then every so often I'm going to turn toward the mailbox and circle the other way, turn toward the mailbox and circle the other way. And every so often when I do this, I'll feel the horse kind of relax into the training and go, okay, you know what? We've passed that mailbox like 400 times by now. It's not so scary. And so when I feel that shift, I'll give the horse an opportunity, like, hey, do you want to stand and I'm not going to like make them put their nose on the mailbox. I'll find a place that's near the mailbox where they can ponder the mailbox, but won't push them over threshold. And I'll say, hey, you did really good on that. Do you want to like rest kind of over here by the mailbox for a few minutes? And I'll give the horse the opportunity to sit there and rest. Sometimes they want to take it, and I'll say, great, you can rest right near this mailbox here, and we'll take a little break, and then we'll go on again. Sometimes they'll only sit for a few moments, and then they'll go, okay, I have to move again. And I'll say, okay, well, let's move again a little bit more. And just keep turning toward the scary thing, but not really. I'm not trying to force the scary thing on them. It just happens to be there, and we're always turning into it. And then I'll feel the shift where they're like, if you would let me stand for a minute, I think I would stand for a few minutes. And I'll say, okay, yeah, let's rest by the scary thing. And if the horse, I don't demand them to be perfect with the mailbox that first session if they find it really scary, but I'll get a little improvement and then I'll take them away from it and say, okay, let's go right over here now. And I just slowly start to sneak the idea of, you have two options with the scary thing. You can kind of hang out by it for a few moments. And if you need to move your feet, that's great. I've got a million little drills we can do next to the scary thing. And I always try to end with, okay, now let's rest nearby the scary thing. And pretty soon they learn that, okay, the scary thing was not that big a deal. I have to listen to my person, what they're telling me. And sometimes it's okay to rest near the scary thing.
Yeah, it's the scary thing. It's been a challenge with this one. I've not had a horse that deals with his universe quite the way this little guy does.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the dogs next door. We have dogs on both sides of our long, skinny lot, and the dogs on one side are pointers. So they race up to something and they stop dead and they stare. Well, he's one of the things they race up to the fence and stop dead and stare at, which terrifies him. I don't know if he'd never met a dog before I got him, but from the gate, he's terrified of dogs. I don't know what experience he had before I got him. But finally, one day, I don't remember if I was riding him or if I was leading him, the dogs came up, and his thing in life is if there's something scary, if I can go up and bite it and chew on it, then it's never scary again. That's his MO. Well, I don't want him to try to bite the dog, right? Mm-hmm. And the couple of times the dogs got up to the fence and really startled him badly while it's under saddle, he kicked out at the dogs. Don't want him to kick the fence either, because then he's going to get his feet stuck. So I was kind of figuring out what to do. Well, the dog came up to the fence, and the dog didn't bark at him, and he actually snuffled the dog's nose through the fence, like they kissed each other. Oh, that particular dog's no longer scary. The dog does all the same things. The dog habits didn't change. But that dog, there are three, that particular dog isn't scary anymore. Now I got to convince the other two dogs that they need to come up and touch his nose in the fence. Yeah. I don't know what, I'm trying to wrap my head around what is going on in this horse's brain, that if he can touch something and play with it and chew on it, and he really chews, like the number of times he's taken the decorations off my gate at the front of the farm, can't tell you. He rips the flowers out every time. Oh, those are new flowers. I need to tear them out. Can't figure out what's going on inside of his brain, but it's interesting how they have a need to be able to go, okay, I'll get close to it, but I need an escape route too. I need to be able to get away from it and then go close and then get away and then get close and get away. So very interesting stuff on their perception of, and it's hard because as a human, we go, you've walked past that 105 times. But yet you still think it's scary. We need to figure out how to get you over that.
In the horse's brain, they're still unsure, is that a mailbox or a mountain lion? And their brain is hardwired to run first, think later. Because sitting and considering something could mean I get my guts ripped out. So, they don't realize how safe they are and how safe we've tried to make them. They're still very much in that survival instinct. And actually, cow horses, really good cow horses, often tend to be very frightened of cows when they first start out, because you do want to breed into a horse to take notice of every single movement. And that's what's going to help them read the cow and work on their own without the rider having to micromanage later. And how you get them over it is to follow the scary thing. So I wouldn't encourage this with strange dogs so much, but I will always make my horse face up to something like that. Yeah. But yeah, you start tracking the cow.
Now.
Yeah, exactly. And what you'll see, and you've probably seen this with your horse, is in the beginning when you're following the scary thing, you might have to follow it 100 feet back, and they're like, well, I'm okay with this. But then you'll see a switch where their ears perk forward and they're like, what if I get a little closer to that scary thing? So following it builds their confidence. And pretty soon a horse, like with a horse that was terrified of the cow at the beginning, toward the end of your first lesson might be biting the cow on the butt, like, move along now, because their confidence has had the chance to grow.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Nigel, my retired horse, once he understood that something he didn't need to be scared of it. Oh, that's a cow. He's quite different, and frankly more typical in my experience is he just completely ignored that it's existed. He was afraid of cows when I got him, but we went and played around cows for a little while. I'm like, oh, a cow. I understand what a cow is now. If I get close to it, it gently walks away. No big deal. So going forward, he ignores cows. He doesn't care. Whereas James's reaction to something that was scary, he is still very much the cow horse. He wants to track it. The best offense is a good defense. If I follow this wherever it goes, it's not going to be scary. So now the trick is, okay, you're not afraid of the wheelbarrow anymore. You'll follow it around, but the wheelbarrow is allowed to walk around you and walk behind you, and you don't need to turn and face it. It's okay. It's back here. It's not going to chase you. So that's the next phase of where we're at. For example, a bicycle is fine as long as it's in front of him. But if a bicycle is behind him, we no longer bolt, but now we have to stop and watch it go by. So we are on kind of the second phase of it's a bicycle. It really isn't chasing you, but despite the fact that it's coming up behind you. So yeah, fun stuff. We're going to take a quick break here and have a little ad from one of our clever sponsors. And when we come back, we are going to get to our first listener question.
For first-time horse owners and new riders, finding the information and support you need can be challenging. That's why Equine Network has partnered with Sentinel and Absorbine to bring you My New Horse. From important horsekeeping information and how-to videos to social media communities, exclusive experiences, and more, My New Horse is your one-stop shop for riders of all levels and disciplines looking for easy-to-understand horse care information and guidance. Start your horse ownership journey today. Visit mynewhorse.com.
What's our first question, and who's it from?
We have a question from Nan, who's an all-star contributor. And she asks, we've had our mini mule for a week now. I love mini mules. I have a mini mule. She is quarantined in our round pen for 3 weeks, but can see our other horses. She's quite shy, but was allegedly being started by the Amish with a cart for kids, so she's not unhandled. We've been spending undemanding time with her, and she's eating her smidgen of low-carb feed with salt out of a feed pan on our lap. Good start. She's learning to target our fist for a hay pellet. We'd like to get a lead rope on her, swap out her regular halter for a breakaway, and take her little blanket off. She allows forehead rubs and neck scratches, but you can tell she's not fully comfortable yet. What approach would you use to achieve these tasks? She's curious, and I think she'll be a fun little in-hand obstacle. We don't challenge partner. We don't want to screw up these initial interactions. Okay, so it sounds like you are already off to a great start. Mules can be kind of tricky because sometimes when they get into new homes, they act maybe a little bit more wild than their training really is, because they can be very one-person animals. So I think you've got a great start on your approach, taking your time and building curiosity and everything. Me as a horse trainer, if I got this mule in or a horse that maybe is pretty shy, but it's got things I need to take care of right away, like, I really like to get a change of halter, get this blanket off. I'm pretty savvy enough with my animal handling skills that I can get in there and get those things taken care of really quickly without really traumatizing the animal or setting us back in training. But if you don't have confidence in your ability to quickly replace a halter on a more wild animal or get the blanket off, I would say keep doing what you're doing. Use an approach and retreat approach. So when you do targeting has a lot of really great applications. So you usually, when we first teach targeting, we teach our animal to touch their nose to the target and they reward. But you can then use a target to kind of approach and retreat all over the animal. So that's when I'll start touching the animal with the target and rewarding them. And you find a spot that is non-threatening to the animal and touch them there. And then you start working your way out until you can touch them all over. If you're using your hand, this is perfect. So maybe I start with touching on the nose and click and treat, and then maybe I'll work my way a few inches this way and that way until I can get my hands all over their face. So if we're thinking halter, first I'll get her used to me touching her all over her face. And then what I might start doing is placing my hand on the halter and just putting a little bit of pressure on that halter and click and treating that. And then just kind of being able to, can I move your head back and forth with the halter? And when I have that accomplished, then I can take their halter off. Now, I don't like, if an animal is not really handleable, I don't know if that's a word, I don't want a halter on them at all, because I know that I can get a halter on them quickly. I can train them to be haltered really quickly. So I don't tend to like mine walking loose with the halter, breakaway or not. So typically, once I could take the halter off, I would take the halter off, and then I just start training, putting another halter on. If you're worried about leaving them without a halter for a specific amount of time, then what I would do before you take the one halter off is train them to have a second halter put on. So,
ding, 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 ding. You're right. Just teach them to get haltered. And during that process, you put the new one on and off right over top of the one that's existing. Brilliant.
Yes. And you might not be able to get a second halter fitted over the halter that's currently on, but I teach it, can you put your nose in the nose hole of the halter? Can I put my arms around? Can I put my arms around your neck to buckle the halter? And I'll mimic putting the halter on without actually putting it on. I'll make sure I can put that halter all over her neck and her face and everything, and she's just not threatened by it in any way. Once I do that, then I feel pretty confident of taking the old halter off. Once you take the old halter off, you may feel a little greedy, like, oh, I got to get a new halter on her. You want to keep that same rhythm and same kind of nonchalant, like, I'll get it done when I get it done. Even if you need to get it done quickly, I act like I have all the time in the world. As far as getting the blanket off, before I would go to take the blanket off, I would make sure that I can have them haltered and have them with the lead rope, and they understand how to be held in a halter and lead rope without freaking out. Because when I'm sliding that blanket off, maybe I make a mistake and I scare them with it. I want to make sure I have a good hold of that animal so I can help direct them through any kind of spookiness that they have.
Blankets can be tricky. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Now, with the blanket, what I personally do is, before I go try to take it off, I make sure I can kind of shift the blanket all around them and they don't spook and everything like that. But when it comes time to remove the blanket, I'm pretty quick about it. I'm like, get the straps undone, slide it right off. I'm not going to slide it off a few inches and put it back on. I'm like, nope. Get the straps, good, slide off. And I would stand by their shoulder when you do this. And when you pull it away from them, you want to pull it away and actually turn away so that blanket's out of the way and not in a place where they can run forward and kick at it and all of that stuff. I'm really quick and efficient with it because I can always get it back on. But I don't want to, mess around with, I only have one leg strap undone and now they're freaking out and dragging it by their hind foot. So once you do get ready to take that blanket off, have yourself in a position where you're standing by their shoulder, have your hand, have a good position with your hand on that lead rope. And if they freak out at all while you're doing this, just keep their nose tilted toward you. So if they do move, they swing their hind end away from you. So just kind of have all that in mind.
Yeah. Would it be useful for this aspect to, well, I don't know, practice? Because for me, when it comes to blanketing and unblanketing horses who are scoochy, the leg straps are always the tough part. You're furthest away from your control center, the front. And whenever I do this, I take the leg strap off and I clip it back onto itself. If your blanket has leg straps, it might not. So that it doesn't have that leg strap lying on the hanging, dangling down, so that as soon as they move, it wraps itself around their back leg. So either take it off completely at both ends, because usually they have a snap at each end, one at their flank and one at their buttocks. Either take it off completely or take it and then bring it around the outside and snap it back up again. So if they do decide they're going to take a step left or a step right, that it's not going to just flap around there and the buckle slaps them in the ankle and then they lose their marbles. And it's giving me stress just thinking about this. Oh my goodness, Nan, good luck.
Yeah. No, it doesn't have to be stressful. You'll get her done. Like if I had a horse come in training today and I'm like, I need to get this blanket off right now, but the horse is a little wild. The things that I remember before I go to start undoing the straps is I might just kind of grab a hold of the blanket and just gently shift it around their body. And if that freaks them out, okay, we'll work on that before we're undoing any straps. When I get confident, like, okay, I can get this blanket off. Again, I'm going to try to stay as close to their shoulder as possible. I'm going to work efficiently yet calmly. If my horse does any movement, the important thing to remember is keep their nose tipped toward you. Now, as you take it off, they might spook a little bit. Okay, well, that means to get it back on again, I'm going to have to just train on that a little bit. But I just, I undo the straps I need to undo, take it off from their shoulder, turn away as soon as I get it off, so there's nothing for them to kick at, and we're good to go. And then you can go back to your really nice, slow approach and retreat, clicker training. I would reward a lot of behaviors where your mule is facing you. So she learns right away, facing my person is a great place to be. If I'm ever unsure, I should face my person, and that'll save you from a lot of wrecks.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that I think, and it's interesting because back in the day when I was growing up with horses, that was never anything that anybody ever talked about with us. That whole process of teaching them to face you. It was such a different point of view of, we didn't think so much about how the horses' brains worked. We thought about how our brains worked and convincing the horse to respond to the way we think.
Yes.
Interesting stuff. So who is up next on our hit parade? And by the way, if you want to submit a question to Mary Kitzmiller or anybody else on our shows, you need to be a patron, and you can go to Horse Radio Network's Patreon page on Patreon and sign up there and to help support the hosts on Horse Radio Network, like Mary Kitzmiller, and you get to be you get to submit questions, things like that, all kinds of cool extra content on the Horse Radio Network shows. So who's next?
Okay, we have a few questions on trailer loading. So I'm going to pick one of those. So we've got a horse. This is from Susan, and it's how to help an off-the-track thoroughbred who gets stressed when trailering or being in a stall for more than 20 minutes. She comes off the trailer trembling, no matter if it's a short haul or long. Lives outside now, but would like to bring in occasionally for a clinic or in case she ever needs stall rest without hurting herself more. So great question, and great, it's smart to be concerned about these things. Yeah, I think no matter if you have a pasture puff horse or not, it's really important at some point in that horse's life to train them to accept being in a stall. Same way that I crate train my Malinois. I don't I don't know what kind of unforeseeable thing in the future might come. Like let's say my house gets blown away in a hurricane and maybe Red Cross has to come in and help my dog. If she can't be in a crate, they can't really do much for her. And same with horses that can't be in stalls. Hauling them places is going to be difficult. If they need to be on stall rest, treated by a vet, it's going to be difficult. If you need to get them in the trailer to go somewhere, it's going to be difficult. So, it could be part of the OTTB history, where they equate stalls and trailers with high arousal situations such as racing and shipping and all of that kind of stuff. And pretty much you have a horse whose nervous system is saying something bad or intense usually happens here. So you're trying to change how safe that horse's body feels in those spaces. And this is something that takes time and predictability and repetition without pressure. So think about being in this for the long game. It's going to take a lot of repetition. So with trailering, what I'd focus on is we're going to change our thinking on the trailer and stop thinking of it so much as transport and think of it as a place to relax. So you're going to want to focus on short, boring sessions. Load, stand quietly, unload. No driving around at first. When you do try to drive, maybe start with like literal 2 to 5 minute loops. Park, let her stand, and then unload. Don't rush unloading because she's anxious. Now, if you do go to open the door and untie her and she runs back out, let her do it. Just go with her. Don't put any pressure on her because you're not going to be able to hold her on that trailer. I have tried. It doesn't work. So I just go with them and they're not in trouble. And then I'll load them right back on. And if they run back off again, let them do it. I want my horse when I'm loading them, I don't want him to think I'm trapping you in this cave.
That's interesting because that kind of harkens back to horses seeing scary things and feeling like they have a choice. I could leave because if I feel like I have to, because you've approached and retreated from that scary mailbox a million times. So they go, okay, I can stand near this mailbox because I know from the rehearsal we just did that I only have to stand here for 5 seconds and then you're going to ask me to walk away. So I kind of trust you to let me do this. And
yes.
Similar thing going on here?
Yes. And it sounds totally counterintuitive because you would think, well, I don't want my horse to think that they could get off the trailer anytime they want.
They need to learn to stand in there.
But if I have a horse that's doing that, then I have to train them where they're at, which is, and this is my rule, I will never, unless it's like the most supreme of emergencies and like everything's on fire, we got to get out of here. Then no rules. We're doing what we got to do. But when I'm training, or even if it's my old broke pony and we're going to a show, if that horse wants to run out of the back of the trailer, I will never close a door on a horse that wants to do that because we're just asking for injury, both us or the horse, or traumatization. If they want to back out, I let them. I keep my hand on the lead rope. I'm not going to let go of them, but you can back out. And I don't punish them for running back out like that because they're in a state of hyperarousal and fear. So like, at that point, we're just both trying to survive the situation. I let them back out, and then I say, "Okay, let's get back on." I don't hurry them back on. I'm like, "But we're going to get back on again." And they might do that 10 times, run back out, and I'm like, "Okay, now let's get back on." Run back out. Okay, now let's let them get back on. What's going to happen eventually is they're going to realize, oh, they're not trying to trap me in here. Maybe I can get on here and stand for a moment. And I'm looking for that opportunity. If they stand for a moment, I'm looking for the opportunity where I get to be the one to say, now back out. And so then I'm like, no, I'm actually asking you to get out. And then I like to take them very far away from the trailer and I'm like, let's go hand graze. Let's just take a breath. Or maybe depending on the severity of the problem, maybe I put them away for the day. And that's where we do our we do that second phase of learning where we just let the horse think about what happened. Does that make sense? That rest is really going to be what cements it into our horse's brain. And only when eventually, and I usually get this done in one session, eventually that horse will get on there and stay. And I want that horse to stay on there relaxed for me to be able to take my time, put the butt bar up, close the trailer, latch the trailer. I tie my horses after. I don't tie them while anything is open behind them, because you just never know. I've had a very broke horse decide one day, I'm gonna back out the trailer. I don't care if I'm tied. So I tend to tie them after I get the butt bar up or divider closed or whatever. And so I just do it over and over and over again. Allow them opportunity to rest. If they don't want to take it, okay, let's get on again. Okay, let's get on again until they want to rest. And then I'm the person who says back out. Now, if I'm doing this on a day where I got to go somewhere, once they stand for a few moments, I'll go ahead and close the door and everything. But if I have the luxury of this is a training session at home, I'm not going to close that door until they're still staying on there for as long as I want, 10 minutes. And then I can maybe close the divider and then open the divider and back them out. Horses like that just want to know they're safe. And if they know that I have the safety to get off if I need to, then they'll start accepting that, okay, I can go ahead and be on this trailer.
Yeah, it's so complicated because you have to, like you said, you have to start from, as a human, seems to be a counterintuitive spot. Get them into the trailer, and they're more willing to get in the trailer if they, I'm going to use my air quotes, if they know they can get back out. And Nigel, the retired horse, came with trailering issues, and that's really where we had to start. We had to start with put a foot in there. Go ahead and put a foot in there, because you can take it right back out. And I think we put one foot in and he took it back out of his own accord approximately 150,000 times.
Yeah.
Before he said, oh, I can put 2 feet in. It's fine. It can seem like a very long, slow process, but we're going to harken back to our training tip. If you've got the sequence of events right, in that the amount of pressure you're applying and then releasing at the appropriate time, if you've got those two things right on the money for that horse in that moment, what you'll find is the next time you go to try it is like, well, wait a minute. Last time it took us 15 tries for you to get 2 hooves in, and today you do it on the second try. That means the last time you did it, you got it right, and you gave him time to think about it. So if you're going backwards, you've got some timing wrong. If you're going forwards, you've got the timing right. Fascinating, cool stuff. Again, light bulb moments. And speaking of light bulb moments, we're going to take a quick break for a light bulb moment from one of our sponsors. And we come back, we're going to have one more training tip question.
You can enjoy your favorite equine videos all in one place with Ride TV, the ultimate equine streaming platform. The newly relaunched Ride TV has all the series you love, like Rockstar Vets and Mini Horses, plus top-tier training videos and event footage from barrelracing.com and Horse and Rider on Demand. Whether you're ready to relax with your favorite series, binge watch competition footage, or train with a world champion, subscribe to Ride TV today for only $19.99 to see where your ride takes you. Visit ridetvgo.tv to subscribe.
And we're back. And I'm going to tell a brief story about horses who don't like to be stalled. As regular listeners know, Nigel and Scooter, Glenn's Hackney pony and my retired thoroughbred, are kind of attached to the hip. And if Scooter leaves the barn in that somebody puts a halter on him and he walks somewhere not the pasture, Nigel, of course, has to have a thoroughbred meltdown and try to kill himself, which he's really good at, by the way. And something I tried the other day works really, really well. Whenever Scooter gets his halter on, Glenn takes him for a hand walk or takes him up to the round pen, which is maybe 50 yards away from the barn, to round pen him a little bit. If I, at the same time, put Nigel's halter on him, because he comes in the barn, of course, because, oh my gosh, you got Scooter's halter out. And I just put his halter on and stand there in the doorway of his stall. And if he wants to follow Scooter, we follow Scooter. And he watches Scooter go to the round pen and go around circle 3 times. He goes, can I go back to the pasture and eat grass now? He knows where Scooter is. Scooter didn't leave. Everything's fine. I did that 3 or 4 times, and it's interesting now. Very rarely does Scooter get his halter on and go to the round pen and get round pen and exercise. Nigel goes, oh, that's where he goes. He's fine with it. All he needed to do was see that Scooter wasn't going anywhere. And he quit having a meltdown. Yay me!
Yes, good. Well done.
Finally, yay me. And with this particular horse, I found that if I can keep him from going into that panic mode of his, just by taking him, letting him walk around the farm and look at what's going on, and then put him back in the field, he's fine. Catch it before it becomes panic mode. And then
keep them curious.
Yes. And I don't give him rewards. All I do is hold the lead rope so that he's not running around the farm like an idiot. I'm just standing there holding the rope, being a hitching post. You do your thing, look around. I'm not patting you. I'm not loving on you. I'm not giving you a target to look at, because that's what I used to do. I used to try to make him go to work and do things. It really wasn't helping. He was just as bad. But when I stopped doing those things, I'm just standing here holding on to you. You take care of yourself. It made a big difference. So there we go. Light bulb moment for us a few months back. Thought I'd share it.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Who is our final question from, and what's it about?
We have a question from Katie, and she wants to know, what do you do when you don't have a lot of history on a horse to evaluate their level of training and any holes in their training? What are you looking for to determine how trainable a horse is? Are there specific exercises, you do on the ground or under saddle to evaluate them? Are there specific strategies or training paths you follow depending on what your evaluation turns up? Great question. And I often have to do this, or often choose to do this with training horses, because I learned don't take the given history at face value. And so it's pretty simple, actually. I just pretend they don't know anything and then let them show me what they know. So I act as if they're a brand new baby colt that I'm starting. And if they already know it, I can determine it pretty quickly and scratch that off of my list and go from there. So maybe I might even spend a week doing this on a horse. So examples of that would be, I don't ever take for granted that a horse is able to stand tied while being saddled, because you find out rather quickly that, maybe this horse can accept the saddle, but they're very cold-backed, and as soon as they take one step, they explode bucking. And you wouldn't believe how many times that's happened to me on a horse that's broke to ride, and I call the owners. I'm like, he bucked pretty hard with the saddle. And they're like, oh, yeah, he does that. I'm like, did you not think to tell me that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he killed 3 people last week. I'm like, oh, okay.
That would have been good to know. Good to know.
So I have discovered too late that a horse cannot stand tied for things while I've made them stand tied for something. And that's never a fun situation to be in. So, oftentimes I'll take a new training horse to the center of the arena and saddle them while I'm holding them and just make sure. And if they're super chill about that, I usually feel comfortable tying them up after that, or taking them to the place where I tie and looping the rope around and just kind of imitating tying. And if they're okay with that, then I'm like, okay, I know what you got to work with. And before I ride said horse, no matter what history I've been given, I might saddle them up and then just move their feet a little bit. And I just do my basic groundwork exercises. Can you yield your hindquarters? Can you go forward? Can you yield your shoulder? And I can tell rather quickly when the horse knows and when they don't know. As far as the groundwork that I would use to evaluate, again, just my favorite basic groundwork exercises. So that involves, can you yield your hindquarters? Can you yield your rib cage? Can you yield your shoulders? Can you go forward and around? Can I stop you when I need to stop you? Can I ask you to go when I need you to go? Are you soft on the halter? Will you give to the halter while standing still? Will you give to the halter while we're moving around? If I do some basic desensitizing, if I throw the rope over your back, you're going to freak out. If I get a flag out. Now, most horses I get that have had a lot of training haven't had flags around them before. So I always treat every horse like he's never seen a flag before. And I do my flag exercises not as a test to see, do you know this perfectly, but more as a, hey, I'm going to use this thing that's a little bit odd and it makes some noise and it's got, kind of a visual thing going with it. I'm going to use this around you. Do you handle it, pretty well if you're a little scared, or do you explode? If they act unfamiliar with it, but they handle it really fine, then what that tells me is, okay, if I'm on your back and something unfamiliar happens, you're going to keep your sanity, even if you maybe don't understand what's going on. If you explode, then I ain't getting on you, and we're going to work on a few more things before I get on you.
Yeah.
So those are the things I like to check out. And I've done this enough that I can usually tell when there's a history there, good or bad, and go from there. So any basic good groundwork program is a great test to see, okay, what do you know? What do you don't know?
So what are the most common holes you come across, either when you're doing clinics with people or when you're getting a horse in what is sometimes referred to as a remedial horse, a horse that's, quote, already started in for training? What are the holes that you go, yep, there it is again?
I would say the number one thing that I notice in clinics and training is a horse that does not know how to manage their emotions and does not know how to not run over their trainer. So when I do clinics, oftentimes I get horses that maybe haven't been hauled in a while, or they were brought here with their best friend and they're in an unfamiliar place and they want to be with their best friend, and a horse that ignores the person at the other end of the lead rope. And what these horses are looking for, they're looking for help, but they don't know how to look to their person for help. They're looking for something else. Maybe if I run out of the arena, maybe if I scream bloody murder, maybe if I try to run to my best friend, maybe if I run over my person, then I can get to safety. So that's usually what I do before anything else. Is I have to teach that horse, pay attention to me, and also don't run me over. When I can get those two things done, now I've got a basis for doing other stuff. I can't teach a horse that's running over the top of me, screaming, acting like I'm not even in the same building as him. I have to, sometimes I have to be really big and obnoxious to make them aware of my presence and that they should pay attention to me, and I am not something they want to run over. And say, like, that is not a good idea. Horses don't understand how squishy and fragile we are. So sometimes I need to make it known. I am precious. Do not run me over.
Don't squish the human.
Yes. And so when I can get them to tear their attention away from everything else and realize I'm the most interesting thing in any building we're going to be in, then I can start evaluating other things. Okay, what are some things you know? What are some things you don't know?
There we go. As usual, many light bulb moments. And again, if you want to submit questions to Mary's monthly show on the second Thursday of the month, you need to be a patron. And you can go to the Patreon page on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Horse Radio Network, if I remember right. And help us out there. And you can become part of the Facebook page too, which is a great community with lots of support and interesting things going on. So for folks who want to follow your adventures, Mary, where can they find you online?
Mary Kitzmiller Horsemanship on Facebook.
On Facebook. And you also have a art studio where you make custom as well as pre-made art for folks to purchase. Where is that?
You can find us at Troublemaker Trading Company, also on Facebook, and we have a Shopify store. I think it's troublemakertradingcompany.myshopify.com.